Good evening and welcome to the Early Set. The Early Set is a weekly talk show dedicated to the artists who make live jazz and more happen in New York City and beyond. I'm your host, Gabrielle Stravelli. I am a vocalist and songwriter. You can find out more about me. I do have a website, gabriellestravelli.com. And you can also follow me on Facebook. If you're watching the broadcast tonight from Facebook, I've got a music page there, Gabrielle Stravelli Music. And I highly recommend you boogie on over to YouTube at some point. Perhaps you are watching this via YouTube, which is great. If you are, click that little subscribe button, won't you? And if you're not watching on YouTube now, I recommend you check out my channel, which is also Gabrielle Stravelli Music. On that channel, I've got all my past episodes of the Early Set, some really great interviews with other people, past concerts that I've done in New York and abroad, and also some fully produced, really fun music videos. So we hope that you will subscribe to us on YouTube so you can see more Early Set. My guest today is the pianist, vocalist, arranger, and composer Billy Stritch. And I am so excited that he is joining us. But before I welcome him, I want to give a shout out to a couple things that I've been enjoying lately. First up, I want to recommend a movie that I saw last week called Moonlight Sonata. Deafness in 3 movements. It's been out for at least a couple of months, but I only just had a chance to watch it, and it's just beautiful. It's a documentary about a boy growing up deaf, but it's about much more than that. It's about music. It's about family. It was made by a veteran documentarian, Irene Taylor Brodsky. She is hearing. Her parents are both deaf. The filmmaker and all of her siblings are hearing. She has 3 children, the eldest of whom is deaf. And so it's this very interesting documentary about family and just this mixed family where some people are deaf and some people are hearing. There are also musicians in her family. And her son, who is deaf, gets cochlear implants and starts playing piano and sort of becomes obsessed with Moonlight Sonata, which Beethoven wrote when he had lost his hearing. So it's a very moving movie about music and hearing and sound and family, and I highly recommend that you check it out. I think you will love it. The other shout out I want to give this week is a series of workshops that a friend of mine, a wonderful vocalist friend of mine, has organized for next month in August. Ayelet Rose Gottlieb is an Israeli singer. She was lived in New York for many years, and she is now based in Montreal. She's so cool and interesting. She writes, she's a composer as well as being a vocalist, and she does a lot of stuff that sort of leans to the more avant-garde, and she mixes Middle Eastern traditions and multiple traditions in with jazz traditions. And she has put together a weekend of vocal workshops, and this is called the Orchard of Pomegranate Vocal Intensive 2. It's going to be happening the weekend of August 14 through 16. The workshops are open to all levels of singers, and it's very affordable. I think it's about $100 for the whole, to take all the workshops over the whole weekend. You also have the option to just sort of pick and choose the workshops that interest you and sort of sign up for things individually. The workshops are going to cover sort of a broad range of topics, from body work to rhythm and experimental improvisation, just a lot of good stuff. And she's just a wonderful person who knows how to foster a supportive learning environment where people can take risks and explore maybe some aspects of their singing that they haven't explored yet. So I highly recommend that. You can get more info and you can register for that by emailing music@ayeletrose.com. This evening, we are, as ever, gratefully accepting your donations via Venmo and PayPal. You can see my Venmo and my PayPal handles sort of along the ticker tape on the bottom of the screen. Those donations help us pay for the platform that we are streaming from. And we always donate a portion of our donations to a charity that our guest for the evening has chosen. And this week, our guest, Billy Stritch, has chosen to make donations to a wonderful organization called One More Dog Rescue. You can see them there. And they have this beautiful motto about like, shelter dogs aren't broken. They've just experienced more life, which coincidentally is also how I describe myself. It's a great organization. Billy has adopted both of his adorable dogs from this place. So please help us give One More Dog Rescue some extra love this evening via Venmo and PayPal. And we thank you in advance for that. Billy Stritch has been working professionally, I believe, since age 12. And he can correct me if I'm wrong on that. When he comes on in just a moment, he formed a vocal trio that toured internationally and played major jazz festivals. He has led his own trio for many years at major venues in the States as well as abroad. He composed a Grammy Award-winning country song. He's an in-demand musical director for singers you may have heard of, like Liza Minnelli, Linda Levin, Marilyn May. And that's really only scratching the surface of everything this brilliant man has accomplished. So please, without further ado, help me welcome to the early set, Billy Stritch.
Hi there.
Hi, friend.
I'm scratching the surface as we speak.
I mean,
it's
been fun to read. I feel like I knew you, and then as I was digging a little deeper this week, I learned even more, and that's been...
You didn't know me at all, did you?
I guess not. I feel like I didn't, but now I do.
Now you really do. Yes, that's right.
So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're adorable, I have to say. You're such I'm having such a good time watching you set this all up, and I'm excited. We're going to chat, aren't we?
We are.
Okay.
I got some questions for you, young man.
Oh no, here we go.
So I don't think I realized that you started playing professionally quite so young. And the funny thing is, I think you'd agree that typically people are sort of honing their skills at home as kids, playing their scales and practicing piano. Whereas you really you were on the job learning how to do this from a very early age. So
I hated playing scales for one thing. I mean,
do you want to escape that?
I still hate that. So what can I say? But I started really young, I did study, I started taking piano lessons when I was about 6 because my 2 older sisters were taking piano lessons at the same time. Okay. But after about a year of that, it became apparent to me and to the teacher and to everyone that I had this ear for music that they didn't have. And so I remember every spring, the teacher would present all of his students in a spring recital. And so we'd have to work out 2 recital pieces. And I had mastered my recital pieces, and then I had mastered my sister's recital pieces, and they were so mad. They were like, "Mom, make him stop. He's playing my," So they didn't last very long with that. And in fact, I didn't last very long with that teacher because my ear started to take over. And, he would play things for me, and I learned to read music from him, thank goodness. But he would play things to me, and then I would come back and I'd play them, but kind of the way my ear had heard them, and with different fingerings. And, he was really old school. He was from Germany. He was very old classical. And so after about 2 years, he went to my parents and said, "I cannot teach your son anymore. He won't listen to me." Wow. So I went from there, and by the time I was 8 or 9, there was a television show that was of course, the Carol Burnett Show and Sonny and Cher, and also other variety shows, the early 70s. And always, usually at the end of these shows, they would have musical medley, especially Carol Burnett. She'd do like a whole Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers 10-minute thing, or Gershwin or whatever. And I had a little cassette player, and I would record it, and then I would go to the living room where the piano was, and I would like pick these songs out by ear.
Oh, wow.
At like age 8 and age 9. So I mean, I was like learning this stuff, and I remember going to my mom and go, "Listen to this great new song I learned," and it was "You Made Me Love You." And my mother said, "That song's older than I am. That's not a new song." But you know, and not that impressed that I had learned it. I mean, later she got kind of impressed. But my first gig was when I was 12, because it became, you know, the neighborhood started to know that I was, you know, able to do this and play songs. And so I played for wedding receptions, and I played for parties for old folks, you know, just kind of, and and when I was 12, I bought a Fender Rhodes suitcase piano.
Ah,
So yes, that was very cool. I had
that's
saved
great.
money and from different things, and bought that. So I mean, I had the axe, and I was ready, and I had the gigs, and I was working when I was 12, and certainly by the time I was 15, I was playing in country clubs and making tips and doing that. So
Wow.
yeah, so I started young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, it's just amazing. Do you have perfect pitch?
I don't have perfect pitch.
Okay.
I have relative pitch,
Well,
but
you got big ears and you can hear all kinds
yeah, I've got big ears, but I don't have perfect pitch, and that's okay. I don't think you need to have perfect pitch, but
No.
yeah.
Well, I'm just fascinated. And I also read something funny. I think it was in the liner notes for one of your albums that you sort of, when you were doing that job playing at the country club, you kind of figured out very quickly that if you could play the songs people wanted to hear, that
That's
star
right.
would fill up.
Mainly the people that were coming to the piano bar at the country club from the hours of 5 to 8 were lady golfers off the golf course, and they had been playing 18 holes of golf, and they were 3 sheets to the wind by the time they got there. It was like the same cast every night. Billy baby, play Scotch and Soda. Billy baby, play this. And I was like, I don't know it, but I went home. And it was before YouTube, before, you know, music was so accessible online. And I can't really remember how I learned a lot of these songs, but I did. And I learned the songs, and I kind of sang. I really wasn't singing a lot then. I'd sung in church choir. I wasn't afraid to sing, but I thought of myself as just piano player.
Oh,
And
wow.
they would sing. And of course, there was a brandy snifter on there. And it's like the first time someone dropped in $5, I was like, oh, that's for me. Oh, this is for me. Wow, free money. So, you know, it was cool. And Gabrielle, I was working that country club gig when I was 15. I couldn't drive yet. My mother would pick me up at 3:40 when school let out. I would jump in the back seat on the drive over, and I would change clothes. I would put on my little my shirt and coordinating tie. I had like 5 outfits, one for each day of the week. And then I would play from 4 o'clock to 7.
Oh.
And Gabrielle, I made $10 an hour. And so I made I got a check for $150 every week when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
I was rich, baby.
You were balling.
I mean, really. I mean, it's like, I thought this is the life for me. So, you know, and I kill to make $150 a week now, but you know, I tell you, things are hard.
Yes. Is one of the dogs scratching you, or is that you hitting your earbud microphone maybe? I'm just getting a little scratchy.
It's my heartbeat. That's all.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's this fan I have on. If that goes away,
I'll keep an ear open for it. It's all right.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
No, my dog is not near me.
I was picturing.
I mean, this dog is near me, but that's the deceased dog. It's a painting of the deceased dog. So, anyway, that's Ivy. Okay.
I remember Ivy.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
All right. So fast forward to college. I believe it was in college that you formed your vocal group, Montgomery Plant and Stritch. Is that correct?
It was. Montgomery Plant and Stritch was 1981. It was
Okay.
actually the first year. It was Montgomery Mays and Stritch,
Oh, of
and
course.
it was with a singer named Sally Mays, who is a
I
who's
know
been a
her.
Broadway star for a long time. We were together. We all went to school at the University of Houston together, and we had all been cast in shows together. I mean, I went to North Texas State for a year to be a music major,
Okay.
but I was 17. I went there, and it was I was kind of overwhelmed by it
Mm.
because
Oh.
I had been the star at my high school,
Mm.
and then I go to North Texas, and it's like there are like 1,800 other stars.
Okay. Huh.
So instead of like going into the music thing, I gravitated to the drama department and the drama
Oh.
kids, which is what I loved anyway. I mean, I loved musical comedy and theater and all that stuff. I was raised on that. So that's what I did. And then I didn't last long at North Texas. I went from there to University of Houston, moved back home,
Okay.
and went into drama. Met Sharon Montgomery, Sally Mays, and then one night at a cast party for a show that we'd all been in, everybody was singing and playing, and people knew that I could play, and I got up and play, and Sally said, "Do you know Lullaby of Broadway?" Sure. Da da da. Key of G, and the three of us sang it, start to finish, perfect 3-part harmony. We all knew the words, perfect. And then we did the other song we did was "Hold Tight." You know the Andrews Sisters, "Hold Tight." Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Food Yakizaki wants some seafood, mama. Shrimps and rice are very nice. So these two songs, and people are like, "You guys have to do this."
Wow.
And we kind of thought maybe we do. Well, there was a gay bar in town called
Okay.
Rascals that was featuring cabaret entertainment. We worked out maybe 3 other songs, and we went in audition, and they hired us for 2 weeks from then. And then we had to
Wow.
get together. We had to pull together 3 hours worth of material, and we did it, and we never looked back. And that was it. And we were like the toast of Houston. And Sally was with us for a year and a half. She left the group, and then we got a girl named Rebecca Plant, and went on for another 7 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And this is another thing. In the time I've known you, you've been very humble in talking about your vocal group. You like mentioned to me once that you played one festival, Newport or Monterey or something.
We
I've
did.
never heard that you guys you played the North Sea Jazz Festival 4 times. And
We
you guys
did.
for Mel
Absolutely.
Gourmet, and
Yes. Yes.
you really had a lot of success. I'm going to ask you some questions about the group, but before we do that, we're going to roll a little clip.
Ooh.
I know.
Yay.
We got a good one.
Yay. I'm
A
excited.
clip of Montgomery Plant and Stritch performing the song "Lil Darlin" at the
Oh,
Newport Jazz
Newport.
Festival,
Yay.
1988. Let's see that now.
Okay.
Oh yes, I know that gal's in love with me. Something tells me constantly. Although she's chased by lots of guys, she's my own special prize. It's me and me alone she can see. She's the kind of gal who likes to stay home in the evening. Most fellas tell me she's rare. Long as she loves me, then I don't care. She meant what she said when she said, "Don't catch me chasing round at night. I'm
Do you enjoy that blast from the past?
Who is that guy? Is what I
You
want
look
to
like
know.
a
Who is
baby.
that? I'm a baby. I am a baby. I tell you what, Gabrielle, that was 1988. It was August. I have never sweat so much in my life that I did that day on that stage. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I can
I'm
imagine.
so happy to see that again. I
Yeah,
haven't seen that in a long time.
the whole your whole set is on YouTube. I
I
can
know.
send you the link
Yeah.
if you want to see it. It's a
I
beautiful
mean,
set.
yes, it's a fun set. We were so thrilled to be invited to be part of that. We had a fantastic manager who really made that. A guy named Charlie Graziana, who is kind of legendary in the business. He managed Spyro Gyra and special effects,
Oh wow,
and way before that, Gloria Lynn and Gladys Knight and people like that. And he really made that totally happen for us.
awesome.
I'm not sure we appreciated it at the time, and it was
Well,
just fantastic. And then I should mention that playing bass, we only ever usually work just as a trio. I
mhm.
didn't have a bass player drummer. We worked nightclubs. So I was not used to working with bass and drums, but for that we thought we needed to have it. So we have Terry Clark on drums and Jay Lenhart on bass.
I
And
I didn't
yeah,
recognize him, and then Pat,
it's
my
Jay.
husband, pointed. He said, "Hey, it's Jay
Yeah,
Lenhart."
we're all very much younger then, but yes, it's Jay. Yeah, and he and I have been buddies ever since. Yeah, it's just
Um,
great.
two things. I believe we can hear your fan. I'm being told by
I,
our
I'm
producer,
I'm
Julie
turning it
Bell.
right off.
I'm so
Okay.
sorry to do that.
No,
Um,
not at all.
and I also just wanted to pause for the cause. My friend Grace Hockheiser sent us in. Grace, I'm sorry if I just butchered your last name, but she sent us in a donation, and we are so grateful. And if you are enjoying the show, we ask that you share whatever you are able, because we're going to share with One More Dog Rescue. So thank you, Grace.
Thanks,
Um,
Grace.
so yeah, that clip, I just love that. I want to ask a little bit about working as part of a vocal group. And I want to ask you to maybe if you feel like you can articulate, like, technically, what is it that brings the blend in a vocal
Oh,
group?
okay. First of all, it's a really specific thing.
Yeah.
For you said what work with the vocal group, I was going to be flip and say I don't advise it, but I mean, I watched you with Janice and Lauren the other week, and it's like it's a personality thing. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
group thing, and so there's a lot of things that come into it that are not even music related. Everybody has a vote, and so you've got to make sure you're with the right people, and they all respect each other, and we had that, and that was good. But it's tough. It's tough to find the right combination. But in terms of singing and a blend, which is what you asked, somebody told me back when I was doing it, when you're singing, if you can hear yourself
Hmm.
over the people you're singing with, you're too loud.
Oh, I love that.
Interesting, right? Just pull
Mhm.
back a little bit. Now, we worked the Algonquin and we worked different places, and we most of the time didn't have the benefit of monitors. I mean, we did so many gigs in the 80s. I'd never even heard of a monitor. I swear to God.
Oh my
It
God.
wasn't like that. That wasn't, in my world, that wasn't like a big deal to
Right.
have a monitor. So,
Uh-huh.
that's all changed. But I mean, you just kind of dealt with the sound that you could hear from the speakers on the side of the stage or whatever. But I remember, singing and closing my eyes. And if I couldn't hear them, then I needed to pull back. And so it was just kind of done in a very primitive kind of way. But it worked for us. I mean, I have to say. I mean, now people have in-ear monitors, and it's like everybody has their own mix and all that
Right.
stuff. And then sometimes, if they're a big group, they're dependent on someone out in the house mixing it for them at the same time.
Mhm.
But most of the time, we don't have that luxury.
It's funny. I love that answer, and I thank you so much, because that
Hold on just a second.
question.
Making a real scratchy sound.
I am making a scratchy sound. Okay.
Pull your chair.
Thank you, Doug.
Doug's saying I'm making a real scratchy sound.
Yeah, it's so the fan was part of it, but not.
Well,
And I apparently was echoing, so
am I against
I
the
put
wall
my
here?
earphones in.
And also your
Oh, maybe that's
Okay.
what it is.
Just keep my hand still. He's saying, keep my hand still and just don't move. Okay. He's in the other room watching. So, okay.
Thanks, Doug. You're the best.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, please.
Okay. All right.
We keep it casual here at the early set.
I know. I like it.
But it's funny you should say that because I remember going to 2 years ago, maybe I went to a friend's gig, a singer, and something was malfunctioning technically, and she had everybody, all the players turn their monitors off, and but she was like, secretly, I love this because it forces everybody to just listen to each other when we're not
You're
all
absolutely
listening
right.
to our monitors.
That's
And
right,
I thought, oh yeah,
I think we become over dependent on those things sometimes. And it's like, where's just the acoustic thing? I mean, it's
right.
like we can all just, I mean, I see groups, people play together outside in the park, whatever. It's like, yeah, they're just listening and they're not worried about, it's like, and we can hear everybody. And it's
Right.
like, sometimes it's too much,
I
So I
agree.
agree with you. Yeah, it is. So it's like, turn everything off.
Yeah, and listen, what a concept.
Yeah, exactly.
As
Sure.
far as your role because you did the arrangements for the group, yes? And you were
I did.
doing the vocal, and not just like for the rhythm section, but you were writing the vocal arrangements as well?
Mainly vocal rate. I mean, at that, we didn't really have a rhythm section. It
Oh,
was just
right.
me at the piano, and I was
Okay.
playing walking bass with the left hand, and so it was just vocal stuff for sure. Yeah.
Did somebody mentor you on how to do that? Was it that you had been
No,
listening to vocal groups and you did it intuitively?
no. I just looked at the keyboard, and I'm like, if I sing this and she sings this, and like, if she's going to sing lead, then this is the key we need to be in. I can only go this high. She can only go this low. Whatever. I mean, it was a lot of trial and error,
Okay.
But I just figured it out myself. There wasn't anybody that taught me that.
Wow.
I worked within all of our limitations, and being that there was just 3 people, it was much easier than 4 or 5. And just figured it out. And if we wanted to shift the melody around, then I'd shift the key, and then someone else would get in their range and in the meat of their voice. So,
Okay.
yeah.
This was actually I have a question from my husband Pat O'Leary for you because he does some writing and he's done some, I've had some arrangements on my records where he's written like 5 vocal lines for me to sing, and he has heard some of your arrangements that I've had the pleasure of singing and the stuff we've done at the 92nd Y. And the thing
Right.
that he was really taken with is that I'm often on a middle part. And yet, like that middle line, when you write an arrangement, each line is its own fully formed melody that makes logical sense. And that's not always the case. That's hard to do. And he literally was like, hey Billy, how do you learn how to do that? How to not be super jagged,
I mean, it helps to be arranging a great piece of material. And I think, when you said that at the Y, it was like we were doing Cy Coleman material, which is so melodic anyway.
Okay.
So so that helps. I mean, there's every chord, every change is like there's some place you can go and make the harmony part sound like a melody. It's not always true for every song. I don't really know how I do it, honestly.
Okay.
But the thing is, you don't want to. You certainly want to avoid making big jumps around. You want to go to the next logical note. You want everything to move together in the right direction. I know a lot of people
leading, right? Like in your harmony.
I think so. I mean, when people voice things and they're way too open, I mean, it's fine, but my personal taste is I like to hear things close and together. And if the melody's going this way, then everything needs to kind of go along with it. Don't go too far in the other direction. I mean, I have to say, I have listened to a lot of Singers Unlimited.
Okay.
And that has informed me a lot. I have listened to a lot of Manhattan Transfer. That has informed me quite a lot. So I'm not saying I learned all this totally myself. Jacob Collier, you listen to his stuff, and I mean, although he stacks like 18 vocals, but it's close and thick. It is so crunchy and in there, it just blows your mind. But it's not usually really open harmonies. It's usually really close harmonies, and that's what gives it a nice, warm, thick kind of sound. You know, I mean, I don't know exactly. I just learned from listening, and I learned from intuition.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
you're giving the best answers.
Oh, good.
Jim Caruso, our friend Jim Caruso, is watching this evening.
Never heard of him. Go ahead.
I want to thank him for his donation. Thank you, Jim. If
Yay.
you feel moved to share, you can donate via Venmo and PayPal. I'm like, what are my handles? At Gabrielle Stravelli on Venmo and paypal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli. For PayPal, we thank you. As Fran Drescher said in her special, no amount is too small and no donation is too big. So we thank you. We thank you for whatever you are able to give. And we're going to share it with One More Dog Rescue, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. So thank you, Jim. I want to talk about your Brazilian album.
Okay. Okay.
First of all, I've been listening to all. I know you have multiple albums where you're with other artists, but like your 3, I believe, albums as a leader. There's the Brazilian album, your
4.
Mel Torme album, the live album,
and then my very first album called Billy Stritch from 1992.
Oh,
That's
I
my,
think I've only ever seen that beautiful, that gorgeous picture of you.
It's got a great cover. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
These albums, just for everybody watching, all these albums should be a part of your record collection.
If you can find them, you should have them for sure. No, they're still out there.
Yeah, and they're fantastic. I love the Brazilian album. Your Brazilian album is called Waters of March. It's such a great mix. Got some well-known Brazilian tunes, some lesser-known, I think, Brazilian tunes that may be new to people, and some original stuff. I want to play a little clip from that album of the track How Insensitive.
Good.
From Waters of March.
How insensitive I must have seemed when she told me that she loved me. How unmoved and cold I must have seemed when she told me so sincerely. Why, she must have asked, did I just turn and stare in icy silence? What was I to say? What can you say when a love affair is over? What can you say when a love affair is over? It's over.
So damn good, Billy Stritch. Oh my God.
Thank you.
You know, I'm going to actually skip around just because that clip had a piano solo in it. And that was something, I mean, I love your singing, but there's so much beautiful piano, so much beautiful soloing on your albums. And I was curious to know who your influences are as far as jazz piano goes.
Well, I have to say my first influences were Oscar Peterson. I remember I remember joining the Columbia Record and Tape Club when I was like 13 years old. And one of the albums I bought was Oscar Peterson in Russia, 2-album set. And oh my God. I mean, I don't know who told me to get that, but I loved him and the way he could play. And I could never aspire and hope to ever play and have the technique that man had. But, you know, that inspired me. Bill Evans inspired me. A few years later, George Shearing inspired me. Andre Previn. And then when I got into Mel Torme, I was very inspired by Mike Renzi.
Okay.
fantastic accompanist
Yeah.
and a friend of mine, and he's just still one of the best in the business. And also, currently, I'm very inspired by Bill Sherlap, by the way he plays. I mean,
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
he's probably the finest instrumental pianist working today. And and also, I love my buddy Ted Firth too, so
Hmm.
that he's great too. But yeah, I mean, going back, that was George Shearing, Oscar Peterson, Bill Evans, still,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Susie Mosher sent a donation our way. Thank you, Susie. I love you
Oh,
and I
my
miss you.
darling,
God, I miss these people.
I miss her so much.
Ah, thank you, Susie. Thank you. You can share the love via Venmo and PayPal, and we thank you. So we are so grateful. I have a hard copy of that. I actually have the
You
CD,
do?
and it reminded me why that's awesome because I could read the liner notes, and I was like, yeah, we're all missing out on
I
valuable
agree.
information and I download stuff. I have moved in that direction as so many people have. But this week, while had your albums, I thought, oh man, this is the way to go.
I don't understand why, if you download stuff and the music can come so quickly, why they can't
I know.
give you just snap a picture
Uh-huh.
of the liner notes and make it available for us to read it as a PDF or something. That can't be a big deal.
No, it can't be. And I agree that
Okay.
should be a thing.
That's my
Um,
soapbox for the moment.
well,
All right.
because I was able to read the liner notes to this album, The Waters of March, I learned these two. There are some incredible stories in these liner notes for this album. So I'd love for you to share first. You talked a little bit about how you discovered Brazilian music in particular,
Mhm.
I think, in high school. So how did that happen?
I did discover Brazilian music in high school and shortly thereafter, and I have a dear friend in Dallas named Chuck Alexander, and he was the one that sat me down one night and played João Gilberto's Amoroso
Okay.
album. And I think we had been drinking and doing other things, but all of a sudden it was like, oh my dear God. And
Wow.
so from there we went to, Yvonne Lins. He got me into Yvonne Lins. He got me into Dori Caymmi. All of a sudden that became the thing that I was into. Then I met Liza Minnelli in 1991. She had already been going to Brazil. I mean, she had toured there many, many times. But within a year of knowing her, she invited me to go with her on tour to Brazil. So off we went. And it was my first time. And of course, if you're on the road with Liza, especially in a foreign country, the show, the concert night and the show, that's just a formality. I mean, it's what happens after the show. It's the party. It's the party that is given afterwards, where all the musicians come, where all the famous people in the town, where and where you hang out until 5 in the morning.
It's the hang.
And
Yeah.
in Brazil, that was really the case. We
Oh,
had a
wow.
friend. She had a friend who was a press agent, who's still a friend of mine. Her name was Ana Maria Tornaghi, and she would set up things for us to do every single night. So we would do a concert, and then we would go to a party, and there'd be Baden Powell, and there'd be Edu Lobo, and there'd be Yvonne Lins, and there would be Jobim. Well, actually, Jobim, we went to lunch with Jobim, and I think I wrote that about in the liner notes.
Mhm.
He didn't come to one of the late night parties, but we were summoned to go to his house
Okay.
to spend an afternoon
Mhm.
at lunch. And so, of course, we're going to go, and it's fantastic. And they knew each other.
Okay.
He was thrilled. I mean, because Liza's like Sinatra. I mean, it's like that. She's like that. I mean,
Yeah,
traveling with her, you forget. But it's like she's huge and she's an icon. And of course, why wouldn't we be doing those things? And what? But the thrill is that I'm there and I'm involved and I'm going along. And so we go to this lunch. And we have lunch, and it's great. And it's Joe Beam, and it's his son and his family, and it couldn't have been greater. And it's a wonderful apartment, and then a house, and then after lunch, everybody wants to play music. And I don't know. On my very first album, one of the very first things that I did, and I always would do on my show, is this very slow version of meditation. Really slow and kind of hypnotic. And it's on my first album. It's like a 5.5 minute cut because it goes on. But it's like, it works. It's a risk, but it works. And so we're at the lunch and like everybody's getting up to sing. And Liza goes, Billy, get up and do meditation for Tom. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, no, he'll love it. I'm like, I'm okay. And so finally I sat down and he's smoking a cigar and he's sitting literally 3 feet behind me. I'm at the piano bed and I'm doing it. And I'm just shaking the whole time. And he dug it. I got to say, it's like, it was one of the most nervous moments of my life. And then we snapped a picture and I talk about it in the liner notes because it was like, that's the day that inspired me to do the album Waters of March. Meeting him, having that connection, meeting Yvonne Lenz, and taking numerous trips to Brazil with Liza was like, by the time I got to 1997 and I had signed with a new record company, it was like, I want to do a Brazilian album. So, that's really how that all came about, and it's still my favorite music. I mean, I love Broadway music. I love jazz. I love the Great American Songbook, but I have a real special place for Brazilian music, for the heart and soul of that music. Yeah.
The album features not just a rhythm section, but a full orchestra.
Yeah, I was
Beautiful
lucky.
orchestrations. Can you talk a little bit about how that recording process happened? Where the
it was for a company called After 9 Records. A woman named Lisa Schiff ran the company, and my producer was a guy named Warren Schatz, who had done a lot of rock and roll stuff in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and a fantastic producer. And they signed me, and I said, "This is my dream. I'd be happy to do it with the rhythm section and maybe some horns, but I just hear strings because Klaus Ogerman with João Gilberto. It's like that sound. I wanted that sound." And he said, "I think we could make this happen." So Andy Farber did the arrangements. I really had very little to do with them. I had recorded the vocal tracks and the rhythm tracks. We had done all that.
Okay.
And so it had informed him. He knew what it was. I didn't write out string parts. He went and wrote them out. And then they went to Estonia and recorded it with the Estonian National Orchestra. I don't know. Okay. And it cost about 40% of what it would have cost to do in New York. So yeah.
Okay.
So Warren went. They recorded it, and I remember very well. He was gone, and then he came back, and he called me late one day. He goes, "I'm back. I've got the tracks. You're gonna die. You want to hear them?" I'm like, "I do." And it was like 11 o'clock at night. We went over to it was at 1560 Broadway, and the building was closed, and we went up. It was like midnight, and he played these tracks for me, and I was just like weeping. Like my dream had come true.
Wow.
So that's how that came about.
It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous album.
I asked for what I want, and I actually got it. That's one of the times that happened.
How nice. How nice that was one of the times that it happened.
Truly, it really is. Yeah, and that album, I have to say, our friend Marilyn May says, she recorded a lot of albums for RCA, and she's done different things. And, but there was one album she did with Peter Matz, second or third album for RCA called The Lamp is Low, and it's just exquisite from start to finish. And she always said, no matter what happens, I'll always have that Lamp is Low album. And I kind of feel that way about the Waters of March album. No matter what happens, I'll always have that album. I'll be very proud of it, and it's kind of timeless. So anyway, thank you for loving it.
I do.
Thank you.
As I mentioned before, there's some original tunes on there, and
yes.
I want to pick your brain a little bit about songwriting, because you've had some success with songwriting. You co-wrote.
I have, all quite by accident, but I have.
Still, you co-wrote this Grammy Award-winning country song, "Does He Love You?" I think people are familiar with that one. I wanted to play a clip of one of your original tunes, so we're gonna play a clip of this song that I have fallen in love with from the Brazilian album called "I Don't Want to Be Away." Be away from you. I love this so much. So, and then I'm gonna ask some questions. So let's play this clip of Billy Stritch, his own tune, "I Don't Want to Be Away from You."
The world has got no hold on me. I'll go where you lead. As long as you're enfolding me, I've got all I need. 'Cause I don't wanna be away from you. I don't care if the sky is black or if the sky is blue. There's 1,000 things that I'm supposed to do, but I don't wanna be away from you. I don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away from you. I don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away from you. I don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away from you. I don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away, don't wanna be away from you.
I just dance around my apartment to that song.
You know, I'm so happy to hear that again. And when the whole chorus comes in,
Uh-huh.
you know, it's like one of those great sambas, you know, where
Yeah.
they all sing along. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
That's really what I was going for, and it makes me so happy.
It fits in so seamlessly with these like classic Brazilian tunes that are on the album. It's so that's
Thank
not
you.
easy to do. So
Thank you.
first of all, was that song already, something you'd written, and or did you set about to write some new stuff for the
It was written for the album. It was not written before the album.
Okay.
And I thought, you know, I had been to Brazil and I'd heard so many of these sambas where that there's a hook at the end and they all sing along and everybody knows it. It's like you got 1,000 people at samba school singing along. And I thought that's kind of what I want to write, some little hooky thing. So it went backwards from there. That was the starting off point. And then my friend Lindy Robbins and I got together and came up with the hook and the idea. And she was dating a guy named Jay Condiotti at the time, so the three of us got together and we wrote the rest of the song. But it was for the album. It wasn't ahead of the album.
When you make the decision, I want to write a song, what does that process look like for you?
Well, honestly, it doesn't happen very often. You know, that's a part of my career that I still feel like I haven't dug deep enough into, honestly. Because performing and singing and arranging they come easier for me. It's more organic. It comes quicker to me. And, you know, I'm a lot about the path of least resistance. So it's like, you know, songwriting is hard, you know. I've written the scores to a couple of not Broadway. I mean, we wanted them to be Broadway, but a couple of musicals that were written with the eye to Broadway. And they didn't go very far. They went to workshop and didn't go any further than that. And it was, I mean, I still have the dream to do that. But you know, that's a discipline. It really is a discipline. Back in the '80s when I wrote "Does He Love You," I was writing a lot with Sandy Knox, who I co-wrote that song with.
Okay.
And that was her calling, was to be a songwriter. And so she got me together because I was a piano player and I could harmonize these things and I could help with the melodies and we could collaborate on lyrics as well. So
was she would she say, I've got this set of lyrics or the beginning of some lyrics, can you set that to
that's right. That's kind of the way they have it. I mean, with the case of "Does He Love You," which was the song that did so well with Reba McEntire, she came to me with that idea. That kind of was based on something that had happened to her. You know, she had been with a guy and then he was with someone else and she met the other woman, you know, and so she goes, so she was well over that situation, but she said, I got a good song out of that. You know, I was like, he was a creep, but I got a million seller out of that. So she came to me with that idea. And so that's how that came about. And then we sat together and put it together pretty much evenly.
Okay.
She would like have a melody in her head, and I could put the chords to it, and then we wrote the lyrics together. And I love collaboration. You know, it's very hard to sit by yourself and look at the blank slate and just try to do it all. It's daunting. It's daunting to me. I would rather move to the couch and put on a movie.
I also like to collaborate when I'm
Yeah.
writing, and then I look at like somebody like Cole Porter who did both
Oh,
by
I
himself, and that
know. Oh my
blows my
God. And
mind.
Irving Berlin blows
Yeah.
my mind. But Gabrielle, you're a fantastic writer. I was in the park the other day, and that song "Dream Ago" came.
Ah,
I
thanks.
I was with my dogs, and I literally had to sit on a bench and just take that in again. It is so good,
Thank
and
you.
you're so good with the words. I mean, did you write both of? Did you write the lyrics and the music,
Yes, and Patty always. I generally collaborate with Pat on the music, for the most part. And then some of the words I've done by myself, but I write a lot. I think you've met my friend Jason Robinson, and we work
Oh,
together on lyrics a lot. And even sometimes if I get them all out by myself, I still run them by him because he's
sure.
so smart and he never
It's
lets
so.
me off easy. You know what I mean? He'll say like,
I
"Come on now."
get it. I totally get it. It's like you need someone who you trust
Mm-hmm.
to help you and to keep you honest with everything
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
And but it's incredible. I mean, you have such a talent for that. You know, you really really do.
But I
We
similarly
should write together
we
sometime.
should write together,
Okay,
although we're like
good.
both sort of undisciplined writers. So I'm like,
Right. Well, we'll get
we'll
someone. We'll
we'll
get a
end up.
third person to whip us into shape.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
Let's do it.
Okay.
You have this wonderful album dedicated to the music of Mel Torme. Billy
Yes.
Stritch sings Mel Torme. And yes,
Yes.
it's a
That's
wonderful
right.
album. I'm going to play a little bit of this great arrangement. Again, it's just another album chock full, chock-a-block, as the Aussies would say, full of beautiful arrangements and beautiful singing and groovy playing. This is part of your Just One of Those Things, Green Dolphin Street, that
Okay.
fantastic
All right.
arrangement. Let's hear that now.
If we thought of it, found the end of it when we started painting the town, we'd have been aware that our love affair was too hot not to cool down. So goodbye, good luck, and amen. Here's hoping we meet now and then. It was great fun, but it was just one of those things. Lover, one lovely day, love came lighting my way. Green Dolphin Street supplied the setting, a setting for nights beyond forgetting. And in these moments apart, your love lives in my heart. When I recall the love I found on, I could kiss the ground on Green Dolphin Street. It was one of those things, it was one of those things, it was one of those fabulous things.
I love that so much.
Well, I have to give credit where credit is due.
This feels
That-
like a PBS show, but better. Sorry, I'm just reading this
good.
comment.
Thank you,
That's
D's Enlightened
I know who
Edits.
that is, Danielle. Thank
Oh,
you
you know
for
that.
that comment, my dear.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay.
And while we're stopped, I will remind people that they can send in their donations via Venmo and PayPal at Gabrielle Stravelli or paypal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli, so we can
Yes.
share them with One More Dog Rescue. Go on.
I just want to say, I have to be honest and give credit where credit is due. That arrangement was done by Mike Renzi.
Oh my God.
And it was that was a number that Mel opened
Right.
many shows with, and I love the arrangement. I thought it was a great. So it's an homage
Mhm.
to but I mean I made a couple little adjustments to it, but that's Mike's arrangement. That's Mike and Mel's arrangement. I guess they get it together.
Okay.
I have to be totally honest about that.
Well,
But,
thank you
it's
for that.
fantastic. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
but yeah, I mean,
And-
it's those. Who would have thought those two songs would go together? But they do. They
So
do.
brilliant. I love the way they go one into the other. Something I want to ask about is I'm going a little off script here, but as I was listening to that clip, This is something I come back to a lot. I love rhythmic singing, percussive singing. That's like the bedrock of swing feel. And
Hmm.
also, on this album and on the live album, you got some nice bright tempos and you handle them so beautifully. And just for people out there who maybe don't sing, or if they're developing singers and they haven't quite gotten a hold of how to handle those faster tempos, you have any
Mm.
words of wisdom on how you figured that out? How to
Uh,
phrase that stuff.
Phrase in a fast tempo.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was very lucky that I had a fantastic voice teacher who really taught me so much. But one of the things is about how to just get a big old gob of air really fast. You know, how to really take in a lot of air quickly and to like economize the production of that thing. I think it helps me that I'm at the piano, so I'm
Hmm.
playing in the rhythm. My
Okay.
body is moving in the rhythm, so it
Ah.
helps my voice. It
Hmm.
helps everything I do stay in the rhythm.
Okay.
I mean, I also love. There's been a few chances where I've been able to stand in front of a big band or stand in front of
Hmm.
a band and sing, but it's really different. I mean, there's something so great about sitting at the piano and your whole body's moving with it, and that really keeps me uh, pounding in that rhythm. It's not the most comfortable thing for me to do, and I don't do a lot of fast stuff throughout a whole set of music, but it's a really great way to open a show, and it's a really great, I mean, I try to do all that sparingly, just like scat singing. I mean, it's like for me, I know I love to scat sing, and I know I'm not the best in the world, so I don't do it. Maybe once or twice. Well, thank you. That's very nice.
And I
But
think any of this stuff, if it's all ballads, if it's all super, it would get relentless if it's
yeah,
all one
it
note.
really would. I mean, it really would. You have to, when you're a live performer, I mean, it's like, I'm a real firm believer. I don't like to go hear I mean, I'm going to get crucified for this, but I don't like to go hear a set of jazz where each song is 12 minutes long and there's
Yeah,
like endless solos
I know
and,
what you
and a
mean.
lot of scatting and and everybody has to take a solo on every song. It's like, I don't need to hear everybody take a solo on every song. I'm much more about showbiz and much more about entertaining. And that's just where I come from. I want to have a show. And I guess it's more like cabaret in a
Yeah, but
way. I mean,
I don't necessarily agree with that.
okay, go ahead.
And I mean, I'm agreeing with you. I think I was guilty early on. I was guilty of everybody's got a solo and it all goes on forever. But then it also, in that same way, it sort of becomes just a wash of sound. You know what I mean?
Right.
Over and over again. And I don't think that's necessarily, it's too showbiz, it's too cabaret. I think that's taking care of your audience by varying things and
Yes,
keeping a tightness in the way
I agree with that.
things are,
I
are
agree.
arranged and
I'm,
solos happen. You know what I mean?
I guess I'm just thinking like too many of the same thing is like it diminishes the
I
effect of
agree.
it. It's like
Yeah.
if I hear five sax solos for four courses each, it's like the first one and the second one. I mean, like my God, it's fantastic. By the fifth one, it's like I forgot how great the first two were. It's like I mean, you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
mean, we're just people.
Yes.
We're just taking it in, and it's like so just I feel like less is more
Hmm.
in a
Yep.
way with that.
Yep. No, and I mean, I am agreeing with you. I think it's sad that somebody came along and said, like, that's cabaret if there aren't 12
Oh,
minutes of solos in each tune. You know what?
yeah.
It's like, no, it's still
No,
can
oh, I
still
get
be
what you're
that.
saying. It's not
That's
cabaret.
what
Yeah,
I mean.
because cabaret it's not cabaret.
Right.
Because that's gotten a dirty word sometimes, so people don't
Right.
really get it. But it's like just present the song because it's still lyric driven. If you're a singer, it's lyric
Mhm.
driven. You don't have to. They're coming to see Gabrielle Stravelli. They're not coming. It's very nice if you want to feature your band, but I don't feel like the singer who they're coming to see needs to feel obligated to feature the band on
Yeah.
every song.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, it's like they're there to serve you, and if you give them a couple of solos each, then it really makes you look good. But if you give them a solo on every fucking song, sorry, shit, on every song, I feel like it makes you kind of lazy.
Well,
It's
yeah.
like I'm just singing a chorus and then they're going to play for 10 minutes.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
I've
Yep.
seen a lot of acts like that. It's like,
I
no, I don't want that.
and really
I'm
something
sorry I
that
cursed on your show.
oh, we don't mind at all. You're more than welcome to. Um, if you listen to a lot of those like great Ella live sets, there
Yeah.
are no solos. The
No.
band doesn't get any solos, and I know, yeah, she's Ella. Um, but still, it's that, like you said, that people are there to see her, and she's the feature, and it can get to a point where there's more soloing from the band than there is singing from the featured performer.
Absolutely right.
So,
Absolutely right. And I mean, I saw a singer maybe back in January up at Smoke, and I'm not going to mention who it was, but it was like, I couldn't believe the amount of solos. It was like, I wasn't there to hear them. I wanted to hear the singer,
right.
you
Yeah.
know, and it's like, I felt kind of cheated by the end of it. It's like,
Mm,
because I felt like it was lazy. I felt like we could have gotten 14 songs and we only got
mm,
seven because
mm.
each song was like endless.
Okay.
And after a while, I just didn't care, you know.
Mhm.
It's like, so, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you have to tell a story and take the people on a journey in the song, you know. I mean, that's just my approach in the show, not the song, but I mean,
Sure.
you know, you have to really build it and make it a show.
I think so too.
I
Now,
know you do. I know you
I
do.
I I read in the liner notes for your Mel Torme album that when your vocal group opened for him, he was very gracious and was at your rehearsal and had some words of wisdom for you guys.
He
And I don't know
was.
if you want to share any of that, but I was like, I want
Well,
to hear about
it
that
was
story.
just words in the moment. It wasn't about our sound necessarily, but it was just, you know, we went to the rehearsal at Carnegie Hall. We were thrilled to be in it. And again, it was something that our manager had worked very hard to get for us. And all of a sudden, we're opening for Mel Torme. It was an evening of vocal groups. It was a group called Group Five,
Mhm.
and then it was a Sissy Houston and the Sweet Inspirations.
Okay, yeah.
And then it was Montgomery, Plant, and Stritch, and we were the last act of the first half of the show, and then Mel was the second half. And
Okay.
so we went in to do our sound check, and all of a sudden I looked down, and sitting on the third row on the aisle was Mel, and I didn't think, you know, we'd opened for other big performers before, and it was never a situation where you would like meet them. Hang out. It was just like we did our job and then they do their show. And it was very little, oh, you guys were great. But it was like, you know, no, he was there. He listened to the whole show. He listened to our whole set. He wanted actually, I remember the technicians were trying to speed us through, and he got up and said, no, let them run the whole thing. Come on, let them
Um,
run. 7 songs. It wasn't a big deal. It was like a 30-minute set.
right.
And then he came up on stage, so cordial, so nice to us. And he said, you know, that song you close with, you should open with that.
Oh
And then
wow.
this song, Shiny Stockings, you should close with that. That's gonna, you know. And I was like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And he was really right. I mean, he was like, he didn't have to do that. And he
Right.
liked it. So he just changed our little order around. And then that night, you know, of course, because it was Carnegie Hall, my entire family and my sisters and my grandmother, everybody came from Texas to that show.
Hmm.
8 people came up from Texas, stayed at the Algonquin Hotel, spent the week in New York, and the
Oh
highlight was
wow.
seeing me at Carnegie Hall. And so they were all there. They saw the show, and after the show, it was a quick little story. After the show, we all go backstage, and there's like 150 people waiting backstage to see Mel. It's a big crush of people, and my grandmother was just like there. She wasn't a pushy lady, but she just goes, "I want to meet him. I want
Oh.
to meet. Can we go over there and meet him?" I'm like, "Well, let's just." And he was like, a lot of people were around him. I was like, "Well, yeah, we can." He was really friendly today, but let's just give him a minute. Let's wait. And so then I turn and I'm talking to somebody else. And I come back and I look around. It's like my grandma's not there. Where'd she go? And I look over across the room, and she's right there next to Mel Torme. She has barreled her way in there, and she's talking. I'm thinking, oh dear God. Well, he couldn't have been nicer to her. And his autobiography had just come out. He'd just written a book called "It Wasn't All Velvet,"
Mhm.
and it had just come out. And she wrote me he was great to her. And then I'm like a month later, she wrote me and said, you know, I read his autobiography, and I wrote him a note, and You tell them how much I liked it. And I said, well, don't be disappointed. I said, where'd you send the note? And she said, well, I sent it to the publishing company. And I said, well, don't be disappointed if you don't hear anything. And 2 weeks later, she called. She goes, he wrote me back. And she had written this long thing, and he sent the whole letter back. He wrote his response on the bottom of it and just put it in the envelope. And it said, loved your letter, Mary Alice. And yes, you do have a wonderfully talented grandson.
Oh,
So it was great. It was
that's
great.
so sweet.
So I mean, for that alone, he will always have a real special place in my heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey, folks at home, are you enjoying hearing these stories about Billy Stritch's amazing career with greats, amongst the greats like Mel Torme and Joe Beam? If you are, feel free to share the love via
Sure.
Venmo and PayPal, because we really want to make a nice donation to One More Dog Rescue this evening. So you can do that Venmo at Gabrielle Stravelli or PayPal. That's PayPal.me something or other. It's in the notes. If you're watching, it's in the.
Something or
You
other.
really should have this thing. Oh, there it is. PayPal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli.
Sure.
I'm a professional. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna wind. I know we've gone a little long, but I knew we were going to tonight because I knew you had some real good stories.
Where am I going? I mean, really.
I
Actually, you know what? We went to dinner last night for the first time in 3.5 months. We actually went to dinner. Right around the corner, there was a restaurant, sidewalk dining. We had the loveliest night. It was so great.
Oh, good. Great.
But literally, I'm not going anywhere. So.
Okay. I know that tomorrow night you've got this show that you've been doing, your kind of new solo show that you've been doing during the quarantine called Billy's Place.
Yeah.
You had been doing these afternoon concerts with Linda Lavin in the beginning, right? Like Wednesday afternoons, I think.
Yeah, Wednesdays.
And for a couple of weeks now, you've been doing your solo show.
Well, this is the 10th one coming up.
It's been 10 weeks already.
10 weeks. I know. Time flies in a pandemic.
Woo!
But yeah.
So I would love for you to just tell the folks a little bit about that. And also, I mean, have you repeated any tunes in these 10
I
weeks?
have not. I think I repeated one song in the 10 weeks.
And I know this can feel like how do you know, how do you have this gigantic repertoire? Can seem like a silly question because it's easy to say like, well, I've been playing.
No, I don't. I mean, I have a big repertoire, and I have luckily that I have this mind for music. If I've heard a song in my past or growing up a lot of times and yet never performed it, I can kind of sit down with the lyrics and go, and I can play it. So that helps a lot. I don't have to find the music. I don't have to download, it's like I just listen to it on Apple Music. Like this week, tomorrow, I'm doing Burt Bacharach and Hal David.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. So I've just been in the park listening to Dionne Warwick and Dusty Springfield and Jackie DeShannon and listening and just like, okay, after the chorus, they do a key change. It goes here. And it's like, but I can, I'm lucky. I can kind of sit down and just make little notes. I don't have to write the music out.
Wow.
I just look at lyrics. That's great. So this is the 10th week, and I discovered about 3 weeks in that what would be fun to do would be a different composer each week. Maybe not the whole show about a composer, but devote at least half of it to a composer. So I think the first one I did like that was I did an evening of Kay Thompson stuff because I knew Kay Thompson. She was the vocal director at MGM. She wrote Eloise. She had a very famous nightclub, actually starred in Funny Face. And I knew her, and she was a great songwriter. So for some reason, I thought that would be a good one to kick off on. And so that was the first theme show I did. And then the next week happened to coincide with Peggy Lee's 100th birthday. So I did a Peggy Lee show, and that did well. And then I did, about 3 weeks ago, I thought it was Barry Manilow's birthday. I thought, well, I'll do a Barry Manilow show. And then I'm in the park one day and I'm thinking, well, I know Barry Manilow. I mean, wonder if he'd call in and talk to me during the show. I mean, it's like, I'm having to think about things in a way I've never had to think about them before. It's like we're just used to doing an act and going to a club for a week and doing the same show every night. It's like I'm having to reinvent it every week. And so I called Barry's assistant, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll set that up." And so Barry Manilow called in the middle of the show. Oh my God, the viewership went. you know.
Amazing.
The week before that, I did Judy Garland because it was Judy Garland's birthday. Last week, I did Candor and Ebb. Tomorrow is Burt Bacharach and Hal David.
I'm
So
so excited for that.
every week is not a theme, but most weeks are. I mean, I'm taking requests. The show is at 8 o'clock on my Facebook page.
Which we have a little.
It's my plain old Billy Stritch page. Yes,
So
I'm
that's
sorry.
Facebook.com. I just want to make sure we splash that so people know where to find you.
Splash it.
Facebook.com/bstritch.
That's right. That's
And
right.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You go.
And after it's done, it goes to YouTube. It goes to my YouTube channel, Billy Stritch, which is and so all the shows are archived there on the show. But it's live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and I always welcome comments in the. Make comments as it's going, or write me via Facebook Messenger for requests and ideas. And also, we have swag now. We're selling T-shirts and coasters, and we're gonna start with baseball caps tomorrow. And I mean, Gabrielle, 3.5 months ago, it was like, who would even thought of this, you know?
No.
And then, like Jim said, Jim Caruso, our friend, he's like, I spent the first 2 or 3 weeks just in a funk, thinking what my life is over, and then we had to think, well, now what are we going to do?
Got to adapt. You got to adapt.
Got to adapt, and we're all adapting, and we all deserve a big pat on the back for doing that.
I agree.
No, we do. I'm not being flip about that. I mean, it's true. It's like, because we can't get in the club and work, but look, you're doing this, and you're doing your shows with Pat every couple of weeks. And I'm doing a show every week, and thank you, Grace. Hurrah!
It's fantastic.
It's fun.
And I mean, I shouted the show out, I think, on our first early set, and it really is. I love watching it because I love being, there really is this beautiful community in the comment section of people saying hi to each other. And it brings that feeling of like, we're not all, even though we are separated physically, this community is still here.
It feels like we all, like before the show, we're all going to the Birdland Theater, everybody's hugging and kissing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're here. Yeah. It's the next best thing to that. And I love it. I go back after the show and I read through the comments and I see what people wrote to each other and also what they write to me. And it just makes me really happy. It really does.
It's very heartening.
I think, if this would have happened 20 years ago, we'd all be screwed. But I mean, we have this way to get our music out there and our voices out there and
your livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So please, everybody, watch Billy tomorrow night and any Thursday. I'm proud of all of us. Thank you, Jim Caruso.
I am too. Thank you, Jim Caruso. I am too.
Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, Billy's Place. That's at facebook.com/bstritch. It's so great. And I guarantee you're going to hear tunes you never heard before because you do just know so many amazing tunes.
Well, tomorrow you might have heard them all, but yeah, I always try to do something obscure. But tomorrow is all Bacharach and David, with the exception of one song that is written by a special guest who is going to call in the middle of the show.
Ooh, okay, all right. Well, we're all going to have to tune in to find out. Way to tease that out, Billy Stritch. Well done.
Right. Thank you.
We could go on and on, but I'm gonna wrap us up. I thank you so much. I've been so excited to talk to you. I'm a big fan, and I
couldn't love you any more than I do. You're truly. It's not just showbiz talk. You're one of my dearest friends, and I just treasure your friendship.
Love
this
you.
Is great. Yeah.
If you have loved this episode, we are very, very gratefully accepting your donations via Venmo and PayPal. And Billy has chosen for us to donate some of the proceeds to One More Dog Rescue this evening. So there they are, this beautiful place where your two adorable pups, who also made an appearance in one of your broadcasts.
They did. Well, only because they are under my feet. So it's like, I better just pick them up and I started the show last week, and Chloe, we were like 2 minutes till going live, and Chloe was like under the piano bench, and Doug's trying to corral her. I'm like, let her stay there. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's good. They don't know what to do. Yeah.
Like,
It's okay. They're cute.
I imagine that they love it.
They do.
And they love their forever home. I have no doubt.
Well, we're the lucky ones.
Hmm.
Yeah. And thank you, Julie Garnier.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
producer Julie Garnier, who makes all the graphics happen.
Absolutely. Yep.
And we love her. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna say a couple words. I'm gonna send you back into the
Oh,
waiting
really?
room.
Is
And
that
I'll
how
say
it
a
is?
couple, yeah,
Okay.
that's how
Are
it
we
is.
done now? Okay. Well, then, bye-bye.
One more time, y'all. Thank you so much, Billy Stritch. Thank you for joining us. Love you. Thank you so much.
Love you too, sweetheart. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us. Man, I really enjoyed this conversation. I have really enjoyed them all. And I hope that you are as well. Spread the word. If you love the show, you can share it. These episodes live on my Facebook channel, Gabrielle Stravelli Music, and also on YouTube at Gabrielle Stravelli Music. And I hope that you will subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook so you can keep up. We have such great guests lined up. We're here for the foreseeable future every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. A big shout out to Jim Caruso for his support. You know, he really had the idea for me to do this and encouraged me to make it happen. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Birdland, for sharing the show. And big thanks to the aforementioned Julie Garnier, who is my producer and makes all the graphics and all the magic happen. I couldn't do it without her. So thank you, Billy Stritch, for joining us tonight. We hope to see you again next week. Until then, wear your mask, stay safe and strong and engaged, and check out Billy's music and have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.